4.4 The Sign of 4. Major characters. 1. Sherlock Holmes, a detective, the leading character in this extract. 2. Dr. John Watson, Holmes' friend and partner in solving mysterious cases. 3. Miss Mary Morstan, Holmes' client, Captain Morstan's daughter. 4. Captain Morstan, an officer in an Indian regiment and Maria's father. 5. Major John Sholto, an officer in an Indian regiment and Captain Morstan's friend. 6. Thaddeus Sholto, Major Sholto's son, the person who sends the anonymous letter and pearls to Mary. 7. Bartholomew Sholto, Major Sholto's son, who finds the hidden treasure. 8. Jonathan Small, a wooden-legged man involved in stealing the treasure. 9. Tonga, a native pygmy from the Andaman Islands' small accomplice. 10. Mrs. Cecil Forrester, Maria's employer. 11. Toby, the dog that helps Holmes in tracking the thieves. Question number 1. Read the extract again and complete the web by highlighting the qualities of the following characters. Answer. Dr. Watson observant, courteous, pessimistic, diffident. Sherlock Holmes intelligent, methodic, diffident. Mary Morstan sensitive, attractive, kindly, intuitive. 2. Describe the character of Mary Morstan from Dr. Watson's point of view. Answer. She was a person of limited means. Her expression was sweet and pleasant and her nature was refined and sensitive. She was about 27 years old. She was graceful and attractive, thought her face did not have regular feature or a beautiful complexion. Her eyes showed that she was a sympathetic person. Watson was impressed by her and attracted to her. 3. Sherlock Holmes is the leading character in the extract. Explain. Answer. Sherlock Holmes, who is the detective and leading character. Mary Morstan had come to ask his advice about a problem that she was facing. Holmes was the one who took the lead and found out about Major Sholto. It was Holmes who analyzed the handwriting in the letter that Mary had received. Holmes was sharp, accurate, intelligent and methodical. He had an excellent record of solving cases, and his deductions were always correct. Watson was merely his friend who helped him and kept a record of his cases. 4. Dr. Watson, the narrator, is one of the major characters in the novel. Illustrate. Answer. Dr. Watson is the narrator. He was present when the case was brought to Holmes by Mary Morstan. He is a constant companion of Holmes, helping him to solve cases. He also kept a record of all the cases that Holmes had taken up. In this extract, he is present when Mary recounts her case, and he accompanies Holmes and Mary to meet the writer of the anonymous letter. He is sensitive, romantic and a true gentleman. 5. Holmes is always one step ahead of Dr. Watson in solving cases. Elucidate. Answer. Sherlock Holmes is sharp, intelligent, diffident and methodic person. In comparison to him, Dr. Watson is emotional, simple and trustful person. Holmes is analytical and notices the little details which give him clues to solving a case. Holmes is real detective, while Watson is merely his companion. Holmes is always ahead of Watson and solves cases which Watson is not even nearer to him. Question number 2. 1. Arrange the sentences in correct sequence as per their occurrence in the extract. Jumbled incidents. 1. Holmes put a revolver in his pocket. 2. Holmes gave Winwood's book, Martyrdom of Man, to Dr. Watson. 3. Mary received a large and lustrous pearl through the post. 4. Maria's father was an officer in an Indian regiment. 5. Mary Morstan was a well-dressed young lady. Correct sequence. A. Mary Morstan was a well-dressed young lady. B. Maria's father was an officer in an Indian regiment. C. Mary received a large and lustrous pearl through the post. D. Holmes gave Winwood's book, Martyrdom of Man, to Dr. Watson. E. Holmes put a revolver in his pocket. 2. Discuss the importance of the following statements from the light of the extract. Are the trio Holmes, Dr. Watson and Mary decides to visit Lyceum Theatre. Answer: Mary had received an anonymous letter asking her to be outside the Lyceum Theatre on a particular night at 7 o'clock. The letter said that it would be to Maria's advantage if she came. The letter also mentioned that she could bring 2 friends with her. However, she did not have any friends who could accompany her, and so she asked Holmes and Watson. They agreed, and this was the first step to solve the case. B. Mary received pearls every year on the same day. Answer: Maria's father's friend Major Sholto had cheated Maria's father of his Agra treasure. Just before he died, Major Sholto informed his son Thaddeus this. Though Thaddeus did not have the treasure, he tried to rectify the matter to a certain extent by sending Mary a rare and expensive pearl every year, on the same day as he sent the first one. C. Holmes carefully examined the paper given by Mary. Answer: Mary had found a curious paper in her father's desk which no one could understand. Holmes deduced from color of the paper that it was an important paper. He felt it was related in mystery and examined it carefully to get some clue. Question number 3. 1. Cite various references, lines, from the extract that tell us about the time and period of the events. Lines. 1. He disappeared upon the 3rd of December 1878, nearly 10 years ago. Time and period. Maria's father had disappeared in 1878, before she met Holmes and Watson on a particular day. Lines. 2. This morning I received this letter, which you will perhaps read for yourself. Time and period. Mary receives an anonymous letter on the morning of the day. Lines. 3. Major Sholto, of Upper Norwood, late of the 34th Bombay Infantry, died upon the 28th of April, 1882. Time and period. Mary receives valuable pearls from that day. Lines. 4. At the Lyceum Theatre the crowds were already thick at the side entrances. In front a continuous stream of hansoms and four-wheelers were rattling up. Time and period. Holmes, Watson and Mary reached the Lyceum Theatre on the evening of the day. 2. How does the series of actions go from London to India? Explain by citing references from the extract. Ans. The extract begins when Mary meets Holmes at his house in London. Then they meet Thaddeus Sholto in a runway neighborhood of London. Thaddeus reveals that his father Major Sholto had mistakenly killed Captain Morstan, father of Mary, in London. Then they go Bartholomew Sholto's house to get treasure, but he found dead. Holmes follows Jonathan Small and Tonga, who have escaped by a steam launch, over the River Thames. When Small is captured, he tells them about time he spent in India where he was an accomplice in stealing the Agra treasure. Thus narration goes London to India. 3. The extract begins when Mary Morstan meets Sherlock Holmes at his house. After that Holmes, Dr. Watson, and Mary visit some places in London. Explain in detail the various places mentioned in the extract. Ans. The extract begins when Mary meets Sherlock Holmes at his house. Then they go to Lyceum Theatre, where the crowds were pouring in. A continuous stream of horse carriages could be seen, with stylish people getting out of them. Near the Lyceum Theatre they met coachman who took them his coach through Rochester Row and Vincent Square onto Vauxhall Bridge Road. The cab took them through a maze of streets. Holmes could identify Wordsworth Road, Priory Road, Lark Hall Lane, Stockwell Place, Robert Street and Cold Harbour Lane. They were all run-down places. The cab took them further to a rather grim and shady neighborhood with dull brick houses and cheap and showy public houses at the corner. Holmes mentions that this was not a very fashionable or rich neighborhood. This was followed by rows of two-storied villas each with a small front garden, and there were never-ending lines of new brick buildings, which were an extension of the city. The houses in the area were all dark and appeared uninhabited. At the last cab drew up at the third house in a new terrace, which was also dark except for a light in the kitchen. When they knocked the door, it opened instantly and an oriental figure of a servant clad in a yellow turban, white loose-fitted clothes and a yellow sash stood there. It was strange to find an oriental figure framed in the doorway of a cheap suburban. 4. Basically the setting of the extract is in London but it has some references of India. 2. Explain how the settings of the extract contribute to the theme of the novel. Answer. The setting of the extract is in London, where Mary meets Holmes and Watson to explain her problem. She talks about her father being an officer in an Indian regiment. When he returned to England on leave, he called Mary to meet him at a London hotel but disappeared mysteriously before she could meet. His only friend was Major Sholto. Holmes found that Sholto, also from the 34th Bombay Infantry. A paper issued by Mary was belonging to her father. It was also Indian and 3 Indian names were on it. Holmes, Watson and Mary chased Jonathan Small and Tonga, who were trying to escape by boat on the River Thames. When Jonathan Small was captured, he spoke of being an accomplice in stealing the Agra treasure. He was sent to the Andaman Islands, where Major Sholto and Captain Morstan were prison guards. 5. Describe in brief the importance of the following places in the extract. A. London. B. Lyceum Theatre. C. Edinburgh. D. Agra. E. Andaman Islands. Answer. A. London. The extract begins with Mary Morstan meeting Holmes at his place in London. They go to meet Sholto in London. They also chase Jonathan Small and Tonga in London. B. Lyceum Theatre. This is the place near which the writer of the anonymous letter told Mary to go if she want justice. C. Edinburgh. Mary spent her childhood to the age of 17 at a boarding establishment in Edinburgh. D. Agra. When Jonathan Small was standing guard one night at the Agra fortress, he was overpowered by 2 Sikh troopers, who forced him to waylay a servant of a Raja and steal a valuable fortune in pearls and jewels. This was called the Agra treasure. E. Andaman Islands. Jonathan Small was arrested and imprisoned on the Andaman Island for the robbery of the Agra treasure. After 20 years, Small made a deal with John Sholto and Arthur Morstan, who were the prison guards. 6. Complete. Which places, cities in India and England are mentioned have appeared in the extract. Also write about their importance. India. Andaman Island. Importance. Major Sholto and Morstan were guards here. Agra. Importance. Jonathan Small was a gatekeeper at the Agra fortress when he was forced to be an accomplice in theft of the Raja's jewels. Bombay. Now, Mumbai. Importance. Major Sholto and Captain Morstan were both formed regiment, the 34th Bombay Infantry. London. Baker Street. Importance. The residence of Holmes and Dr. Watson's. This was the place which Mary visited to consult Holmes. Langham Hotel. Importance. This is the hotel where Maria's father stayed at when he came to London and invited Mary to meet him. Lyceum Theatre. Importance. Mary was supposed to meet the writer of the anonymous letter at the 3rd pillar from the left outside the Lyceum Theatre. Question number 4. 1. Write in brief the theme of the extract. Answer. The theme of the extract revolves round the mystery of the disappearance of Maria's father, the receipt of expensive pearls by Mary and the mysterious letter received by her. It is also the travel of Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson and Mary to Strange House to meet the writer of anonymous letter. 2. Write 4 to 5 sentences about the meeting of Miss Morstan with Holmes. Answer. Miss Mary Morstan meets Holmes and Dr. Watson at their house in Baker Street. She then discussed with them about mysterious disappearance of her father, the receipt of an expensive pearl every year for the past 6 years and the anonymous letter. She was confused and did not know what to do. Then she followed instruction of Holmes and they captured the writer of letter. 3. Write the central idea of the given extract of the novel, The Sign of 4. Answer. Ans. The theme of the extract revolves round the mystery of the disappearance of Maria's father, the receipt of expensive pearls by Mary and the mysterious letter received by her. It is also the travel of Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson and Mary to Strange House to meet the writer of anonymous letter. 4. Give reasons. Statement. A. Miss Morstan plans to meet Sherlock Holmes. Reason. to ask his advice. The disappearance of her father, the receipt of valuable pearls and mysterious letter received by her. Statement. B. Miss Morstan gives the reference of Mrs. Cecil Forrester. Reason. Because Cecil Forrester was her employer, whom Holmes had once helped to solve a domestic complication. Mr. Forrester had been impressed by his kindness and skill. Statement. C. It's a singular case. Reason. Because Miss Morstan's father had come back to England and contacted her and had seemed happy. After fixing a meeting with her at his hotel, he had suddenly disappeared and was never seen again. Statement. D. Holmes needed some references. Reason. To find out details about Major Sholto, who was the only friend of Maria's father in England. And he said he did not know about his arrival in England. Statement. E. Miss Morstan received a pearl every year. Reason. When she replied to an advertisement asking for her address, adding that it would be to her advantage. Statement. F. The coachman confirmed that neither of Miss Morstan's companion was a police officer. Reason. This was the condition made by the writer of the mysterious letter, whom they were going to meet. Question number 5. 1. Elaborate the following lines in the light of the novel extract, The Sign of 4. A. You really are an automation, a calculating machine. Answer. These words are said by Watson to Holmes when Mary had left after discussing her case. Watson is attracted to her and full of admiration for her. Holmes, who is focusing on the problem, says without any trace of enthusiasm that he had not noticed if she is attractive or not. Watson is indignant and calls him an unemotional calculating machine. B. The letter speaks of giving her justice. What justice can she have? Answer. These words are spoken by Holmes, when they are discussing the letter that Mary has received from anonymous person. He wondered, what was the justice that the letter spoke of and who had done something wrong to Mary that she now needed justice. C. Our quest does not appear to take us to very fashionable regions. Answer. These words are said by Holmes to Dr. Watson and Mary, when they are being driven by the coachman to some strange place. They were going through narrow streets in an unfriendly and grim neighborhood, which had dull brick rows of houses and cheap, showy public houses at the corner. 2. Following are some dialogues of the major characters in the extract. Find out who the speaker is, her tone, style, significance, etc. of the dialogue. Dialogue 1. You have once enabled my employer, Mrs. Cecil Forrester, to unravel a little domestic complication. She was much impressed by your kindness and skill. Speaker. Miss Mary Morstan. To whom it is said. Sherlock Holmes. Tone, style, significance, etc. Polite and cultured. Mary proves her identity, and how she came to know about Sherlock Holmes. Dialogue 2. You will, I am sure, excuse me. Speaker. Dr. Watson. To whom it is said. Miss Mary and Holmes. Tone, style, significance, etc. Polite and courteous. Watson wants to make good impression on Miss Mary. Dialogue 3. Your statement is most interesting. Has anything else occurred to you? Speaker. Sherlock Holmes. To whom it is said. Miss Mary Morstan. Tone, style, significance, etc. Polite, acknowledging the story told by Miss Mary and trying to get more information. Dialogue 4. Are you the parties who come with Miss Morstan? Speaker. A coachman sent by the letter writer. To whom it is said. Sherlock Holmes and Watson. Tone, style, significance, etc. Firm and respectful, cautious and asking for affirmation, shows that the person who had invited Miss Mary was being very cautious. Dialogue 5. The Sahib awaits you. Speaker. Kitmutgar, a male servant. To whom it is said. Miss Mary, Holmes and Watson. Tone, style, significance, etc. Respectful, formal, shows more connection with the East, especially India.